Hi everyone, welcome back to Writing Wednesdays, and if you're new here, welcome. I regularly upload essays and speaking tests, so feel free to subscribe if you haven't already, and when you watch this video, let me know your comments down below. So today we have a new question. Fewer young people play sports these days. Why is this, and what can be done to encourage more young people to do sports? So first off, you need to know which kind of essay this is. Because there's two questions, we know right away, okay, this can either be a problem solution essay or a two-part question essay. First, they're asking me, why does this happen? So they're asking me for causes, and then what can you do to encourage more people to play sports? So that's basically how to fix the problem. So there we go. And what we're going to do is first we're going to, now what I recommend for problem solution essays is to follow a three-body paragraph format. But it is possible to write a problem solution essay with just two-body paragraphs. This depends on what you find comfortable. I personally find it just a lot easier and a lot more straightforward to just use three-body paragraphs. So first things first, as always, I like to get my main ideas written down. So you've got your ideas here, and then main idea number 2, and then main idea 3, and the supporting ideas. You can, of course, choose to write your introduction first, and then do your main ideas, and then do your supporting ideas. I mean, whatever works for you, basically. Okay, so fewer people play sports. Why do less and less people play sports nowadays? Changes in society have led to sports not being as popular as they once were. I mean, ask people who are like 40, 50 plus years old and going outside. That was just a regular part of life. But kids these days, right? I feel, when I was younger and older people would use phrases like kids these days. And of course, now you're one of those people. Now I'm those I'm that person that says kids these days. So, but yeah, they're just like chronically online. Like so I was, I think, 12 years old when we got an internet connection. This was in the mid 2000s. And like, I remember in my childhood, and of course, I mean, I was practically a teenager by then, but in my childhood, I would go out all the time, play with friends, burn off energy. Of course, playing always meant doing something physical, whether you ran, whether you played little games, whether you, like hide and seek, for example, all kinds of things. Some of us would even ride bicycles. So physical activity in playtime was a big thing back then. Now, kids these days, a lot of their physical activity, a lot of their activity in general, their idea of fun is just watching some channel on YouTube. I don't blame them. I mean, it's a new form of entertainment, and of course, they've got these games on their phone and tablets and whatnot. So yeah, changes in society. You have a lot of personal electronic devices. There's also, in cities, less space. I mean, I live in a huge city. Of course, not all cities are the same, but if you're, um, a rural kid, you probably had lots of open green space where you could do sports. Imagine trying to play basketball, volleyball, any kind of sport. Trying to practice a sport necessitates having enough space, right? And cities are practically always space starved. So where exactly are you going to go and play? A lot of apartment buildings back in my time, they used to have large compound areas, large parks attached where kids could play that have swing sets and seesaws and slides, things like that. Nowadays, you rarely ever see such a thing. So generally, there's less space. So where exactly are you going to go and perform sports, right? Doesn't make sense. So that's changes in entertainment. Also, I would say people are using the internet to have fun. There's also less emphasis, less, cultural. I mean, back then, practicing some kind of sport was just a normal part of life. Nowadays, people don't care so much about that. Like, almost everyone would have some kind of sport they were playing and they were decent at. But these days, it's almost like an expensive hobby or something for many people, not everyone, of course. But they think, oh, well, if I want to like learn, let's say, play basketball, I need to, rent a place or, something of that sort. There's this place just, I think, 1 or 2 kilometers away from me, and they rent out their grounds on an hourly basis. There's also a school close to me that offers the same, but basically, there's not so many options, and it's no longer seen as, a good thing to, not a good thing, it's no longer seen as a priority to take care of your physical health. So that's also, I think, a reason. There can be many reasons. These are just the ones that came to my mind. You might have a different idea. That would be perfectly all right. Don't think that the content that I write, the ideas that I have, are the only way to do something. That's not true at all. There's many different, ways of expressing something or many different ideas. As long as it's related to your main idea sentence, it's all good. Then I need to write about effects. So, naturally, as, whoops, as a natural consequence, sports are no longer a priority, an important part of most people's lives. Okay, first I've got causes, and then, okay, effects. No, this doesn't actually fit. Hmm. Most youth are inactive and unfit. Obesity rates sky high. What else? Major health issues. What else? Heart attacks. What else? There's all kinds of health problems. What else? Also, in when they're older, more issues. So issues just pile upon each other. Like if you're not a fit, teenager, you're not going to be a fit adult, unless, of course, I mean, that can always change. You can always be an unhealthy teenager and a healthy adult. Vice versa also exists. But for the most part, it's, you develop this habit of not being active, and that's very difficult to change. Yeah. Great. And then solutions. What can be done to encourage more people? There needs to be a cultural revolution to ensure that keeping physically active is once more seen as something important. Now, this is a little bit of a bigger main idea sentence, but it's okay. The revolution to ensure that keeping physically active is once more seen as something important. Sports need to be seen as, part of everyday life, not special events, occasions. Also, there is time for playing, right? That's also another thing. Also, when people think of sports, they usually just think of competitive or celebrity sports, like basketball, cricket, etc. So they think, oh, that's something, that these people do. But sports is something that every normal person can do. So they once again need to be, less, I would say, less reliance, less dependence on internet and phones, TVs, computers. Parents need to enforce that. They also need to set examples, good role models. If your parent, is always on their phone or is always watching TV or is always, on their computer and they're not active, they're not going and playing out, some kind of sport, right? Then, of course, you're going to think, well, that's normal, right? So it's not just about telling your child, hey, no internet for you, go play outside. But you have to set a good example. You can't just tell a child, hey, do as I say, not as I do. That doesn't work. There you have it. So I've got my ideas. Sometimes I might rephrase or rearrange my ideas. So here I think they're okay. Obesity rates, well, this is good. Less cultural emphasis, personal trauma. I think I will change this number over here, or maybe this could be number 1, and then this one could be number 2. There we go. Everyday life. Parents need to be good role models. I think at home you spend more time at home anyway, so this makes a lot more sense. And then I'll have this as number 3. Wait, it's okay, great. There we go. Now I need to write my introduction. First, I'll write something about sports. Once seen as a normal part of everyday life for most people, related to our TV screens and TV and as a form of entertainment. Right? People don't practice sports anymore. They watch sports. They get excited about FIFA, but they never really think, that looks fun. Let me use that as a form of exercise, right? Or even just spending time with friends. Less and less people, especially teenagers, to consider practicing a sport, which has, of course, led to catastrophic issues, which can only be reversed or, controlled with the aid of society-wide changes. There you go. That's a huge sentence. I didn't mean for it to be that big, but just happened that way. Okay, well, that's not 37 words. But I've written bigger sentences, so whatever. Well, you can always split this sentence. You don't have to write such big sentences. See, this isn't like showing off or something. It's just the way I naturally write. You can easily just, delete which, put in a full stop, add the word this. Simple. There we go. So do what is comfortable. Don't try to do something that you're not comfortable with, yeah? Because if you end up making a mistake or something, then that's like worse than just using simpler structures. Wait, so I've got my main idea sentence. I'm going to copy that, put that over here. Now you can write a problem solution essay with just 2 ideas as long as they're broad enough. So this is just what I feel. I mean, I can easily write, 3 sentences, 3 supporting ideas. So that's what I came up with. But in case you feel like, oh, I don't have that much content, that's okay. Just write 2 ideas. You're going to have 3 paragraphs anyway. But if you're going to choose a 2-paragraph format, then you should absolutely have 3 ideas, supporting ideas. Biggest factor here is the fact that there is a lot less cultural emphasis on learning and practicing a sport compared to the past, which has, turned sport from being something people practice to something, often I'm not looking at my keyboard, so I make weird mistakes. something that people consume. Television. Um, Biggest factor to add to this, ever since the internet became popular and devices such as phones, laptops, and tablets became affordable, the they replaced sports along with many other outdoor activities as people's primary source of entertainment and relaxation. And then in cities, um, another contributor to this issue is that most people live in cities, which most of which are always short of enough outdoor space, which prevents people from being able to play sports even if they wanted to. Here we go. And then thus whoops, I need space there. Okay. Sports are no longer popular. It is which is to blame. Whoops, blame. Wait, and then the next one is a natural consequence. Most youth are physically inactive and unfit. The most worrisome problem in the modern world, or the most worrisome problem in the modern world is the increasing incidence of obesity in children and teenagers. But of course, adults are not spared either. And then major health issues. Obesity in turn can and does lead to obesity and lack of physical activity in turn. Or maybe I can put intern over here, but you know, this flows nicely. Can and does lead to other health issues such as diabetes, heart attacks, or maybe you can use, you know, cardiac arrests, bone health issues, and many others. We often say this is not an exhaustive list, not a complete list. Some of which are some of which are untreatable. I don't know, untreatable. Some of which are impossible to and must be managed for a lifetime. And what's the next one? The older. If these issues, okay. As a result of such bad habits, as a result of bad habits and health issues in their early lives, when these you know, young people turn into adults and grow older, they begin to face, like, it's this what do we call it, a cascade correlated health problems, which negatively impact their quality of life, right? Therefore, absolutely, absolutely necessary for a good life. There we go. And the last one, there needs to be it's a large main idea. Usually, I recommend even my students to write small, short main ideas. But again, the videos on this channel, they're not supposed to be taken as something that you must do. The kind of essays I write are supposed to present a very high level, ideally band 9 or so. You don't have to do every single thing the way I do it. Yeah, I can do these things because I have a natural intuition, a sense of comfort with the language. But I know a lot of test takers, of course, they're around a band 5, 6, or 7, right? Which is a very high level when you think about it, of course. But everyone will have their own strengths and weaknesses. And of course, to evaluate your strengths and weaknesses, I think the best thing you can do is find some kind of teacher or take some kind of online tests, which can give you a nice breakdown of, what kind of, for example, grammar or what kind of language learning topics you need to work on. So you'll have to find those tools, or if there's a teacher you trust, or if you'd like to get in touch with me, you can do that as well. My contact info will be somewhere in the description. So, yeah, because sometimes I get messages and people are like, oh, but you write so well. I cannot write like you. I don't get ideas like you do. And that's okay. You're aiming for a 6.5 or you're aiming for a 7 or 7.5, right? You're not aiming for a 9. You don't have to do all these things this way. In fact, what I teach my students is it's similar to what you see on these, in these videos, but it's not quite the same, right? Because I can write in a much more fluid style. But when I think of a student, I have to think, okay, how can we get them from a band 6 or 5.5 or 6.5 to a 7 or 7.5? It doesn't make sense to waste a student's time by teaching them band 8, band 9 things, right? Why would you want to spend so much time and spend so much, effort of yours, so spend so much energy as well? Because I mean, most of you will have a job, you have a family as well. You don't have time. And really, when you're considering, an exam like the IELTS, you want to save as much time as possible, right? Because again, you're juggling multiple things, unless, of course, you're very young. In that case, it's different. Okay, so last paragraph. Let me just copy the ideas over here. There needs to be cultural revolution. Sports needs, okay. Seen as is once more seen as something important, not just important, but also valuable. Maybe important was also okay. Biggest need of the hour is for sports to be considered a part of everyday life instead of a special event or occasion. When people begin to consider being active as something that nurtures their bodies and helps them, avoid illnesses, yeah, they will naturally start gravitating towards it. And less dependence. Combined with increased awareness, or rather, maybe combined with increased awareness, there also needs to be less dependence on the internet, TVs, these phones and laptops as sources of entertainment, especially, but this can only be done if parents themselves start, prioritizing physical activity instead of Online entertainment. Be good role models and start. Yeah. If parents become, sorry. Whoops. Or rather are, that also works. Okay, I need to read, prioritizing, that's okay, that's a different spelling. Once you write your stuff, just make sure you read it because you can, so when you're in the flow and you're writing, you might sometimes just miss something or oversee something. And then the last one in schools, likewise, schools also need to ensure that they do more than just in school we just had physical entertainment. What is that? Physical education, but it was just a couple of moves like marching and stuff like that. So schools need to ensure that they actively teach children, their students, a variety of sports and earmark enough time in the daily schedule for such activities. In this way, good habits can be built from a young age for a lifetime. There we go. Hence, when society changes, individual behavior will also change. Okay, there we go. And then I need my conclusion. So in conclusion, it is evident that we often say pride of place or something like that. There's a phrase that I want to use. I can't remember it right now. Well, that sports lack of, whoops, I'm typing, but I can't see anything. What's going on? That sports lack of popularity nowadays is largely due to changes in culture, which are leading to undesirable effects in the population. This, however, can still be corrected by a worldwide change in attitudes toward physical activity. Again, I'm going to use if, however, just because, what else? Okay. If, however, despite, or rather, if people neglect their, neglect what their bodies need, they will have no one but themselves to blame for their poor health. There we go. Okay, let's check the word count. This is 62. Okay, I'm gonna check the entire thing. Probably a little bit longer, but yeah. Okay, that's 561. Pretty normal for my essays. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll just pause over here. This is the introduction. You can click on the screen to pause and you can read it. Then we've got this. Body paragraph 1. Then we've got body paragraph 2. Go about paragraph 3. And we've got the conclusion kind of split here. What I'll do is I'll just change the size of this whole thing. There we go. Now everything's on one page. Perfect. So that's the conclusion. And that ends today's essay. Let me know what you thought of this video in the comments down below. If you have any suggestions at all or any questions, you can definitely post those and I'll get back to you. Maybe I'll make a video to help you out. And if you're here, by the way, don't forget to click on like if this video was in any way helpful. It really helps us. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. I really appreciate it. Thanks for your support and I'll see you next time. Bye.